Good morning, everybody. It's Jim Hagemeyer from Leslie Wells Realty, and across the table is
Realtor Tom, and we want to again thank you for all the shares and likes, and if you could keep doing that, that would be great.
Tom. This morning, I'm excited and I'm honored.
Well, we have probably the most recognizable local personality.
We're moving up. Mayor Shirley Gruber, thanks for coming this morning.
Thank you.
What a privilege this is, and an honor. We're so happy that you're here this morning, and Tom and I have lived in the area for a little while. And what year did you move to Palmetto? I'm just kidding. You were born here, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
She was the one that was born here. Tell us about that. What Palmetto was like growing up back in the day.
Well, actually, 17th Street was a dirt road. There were a lot of dirt roads, and even beyond the city limits, there's been so many changes. Some, for the good. A lot of people think there's too much traffic. There's always going to be too much traffic.
Well, there is.
But you want to be part of that traffic because you're not going to change it. It's like Palmetto. We have three major corridors that come through the city of Palmetto. So we're always going to have traffic. We're going to have a certain amount of congestion. You have to kind of plan the time of day if you can, if you have that luxury.
Somebody said when you stop growing, you start dying, right? A lot
Yes.
of truth to that, maybe.
Absolutely. I think that's very true. And that leads to some of why we do all the redevelopment that we do and why our CRA is so aggressive about trying to work with people and show incentives that they're on our website, they're available. All you have to do is go on and see them.
Well, we're going to spend a lot of time on the redevelopment and what's coming and the new developments that are coming in. But before we do that, what inspired you and how did you run for the mayor's office to begin with?
Because my background is economics and accounting, finance. And previously I'd been in public accounting, and I was the CFO at Manti School for the Arts. And so every day I have this bad habit about getting a Diet Coke. And so I went in the little store. I know, and
Yeah.
my family don't
No,
like me
that's
to
okay.
drink diet drinks.
I'm not judging.
Anyway, good. It wouldn't do any good. Anyway, but one of my really good friends, he's an air conditioning contractor, and usually he had the flip phone, and I would go by him, and he would just kind of mouth to me. He'd say, "Hey, Shirley," or just something like that. So this one morning, I go in and I start to go by him. I'm going to wave, and he says, "I got to go," and he closes his flip phone, and he says, "Shirley, I implore you to run for mayor." And see, this has been a struggle that I'd been having because several people kept asking me to run for mayor, and I was kind of happy where I was. But so I've been giving it a lot of prayerful thought.
Mhm.
And when he said that, I said, "I give up." I went in my car and I prayed about it, and this was in 2007. And so I went ahead and filed to run. But my sister kept saying to me, she's older sister, protective. And
Mhm.
she said, I just, I worry about you doing that. Your feelings are going to be hurt. You've lived here your whole life. And what if you don't win? I said, I didn't say I was supposed to win. I just was supposed to run.
Right.
So I love Palmetto. Like I said, my whole family's grown up there. And it's spread out a little bit bigger now.
You grew up in a family business?
Yes. Yeah, it was Gruber's Market.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my sister and I, we actually, she would chop up the chickens, and I would put them on the trays and wrap them and then weigh them. So she can cut up a chicken like crazy.
Okay.
But, everybody had a job. We had 4 older brothers, and then
Mhm.
my sister and myself. So
Family business, grew up in.
mhm, mhm.
So what did your sister say when you got elected?
Well, she was really happy. She was crying, actually.
Yeah,
So she's the
too.
best. She's the best sister there
Is
is.
she?
Mm-hmm.
So now we all love the historic area of Palmetto. We'll talk a little bit about Palmetto, the 10th Street area, the Sutton Park, the 4th of July festivals are fabulous. The Riverwalk area. What's some of the other events, or tell me about those areas that you've been involved in helping develop?
Well, and again, the CRA in the past has really helped to fund those. I think a lot of that's going to be tapering off because there's been some more stringent guidelines, as far as the funding from the CRA. So, that's going to be a work in progress.
So tell me about CRA 101. What is that?
CRA 101 is the areas of the city that have been declared blighted, we've declared those our CRA district, and there's a base amount that was in 1984 of the value, and that value is above that is what the increased value creates. And the county they forfeit into it because they don't take their exact whole portion of the taxes. Now there's some portions that it makes no difference, like the fire tax and that sort of thing, but it leaves that much money, that difference, it goes to the CRA, and the funds are restricted to be utilized within the CRA area, and it's for revitalization, redevelopment, and really the goal is to get rid of slum and blight. That's in a nutshell, get rid of slum and blight. It's not a social service type thing, but it's to make successful areas out of areas that have been just maybe abandoned, shut down, or whatever.
That's everywhere. Every city has that.
Yes, yes. But if you work it effectively, you can certainly make a difference. I think one of our things that I'm really proud of is using the incentives to bring something like Detweilers. And
Tell us about Detweilers. How did that happen? I mean,
well, it was interesting because they had approached. They'd been thinking about expanding, and so they connected with our CRA board, our CRA office, and then they brought them to come to me, meet with me. The family is awesome.
Yeah.
They're absolutely awesome. But when they came and we connected, because all of their kids have grown up in the grocery business,
local,
as did mine, and so she and I just kind of had a connection. So then we incentivized them coming there. They got so much money a year. It's different than what the county does. I think they do a tax abatement.
right?
Ours is different. It's from the CRA dollars that they might get, $5,000 a year for so many years. But it's whatever their incentive package, how it was orchestrated from the guidelines that are on our website.
We were doing some real estate business through the CRA one time, or as part of the CRA. And do they still do that as far as redevelopment and housing? Is that such a thing anymore?
Well, it depends. If it was a blighted if it was a blighted property,
right,
they can. And I think we've had one, or we've had several that that they're brownfield properties. And if you drive by, and you kind of will know in the back of your mind, if you've lived here very long, oh, that's like an old gas station site.
Right.
You know that's a problem. It's going to be a brownfield. So through the Brownfield Association and some of the contacts there, we've made every effort as we came across a brownfield, and we could, because you have to do it strategically. And
see, and you know how to do that. You know the ins and outs of that.
I have good people.
Yeah.
I have good people. So I don't ever claim that I do everything, because if you don't have good people around you, I have to give accolades where they belong.
Absolutely. Tell us about, here's one that I live here and I didn't know about, Connor Park. Tell us about that. How did that come about?
Well, it was a designated brownfield site, and we knew that. And so unless it got cleaned up, it was going to be a blight on us. It had to be cleaned up. So our CRA wound up broaching the subject. They worked with some scientists and some people that really know everything about science.
Because that had something to do with the railroad, didn't it?
Yes. Yeah, the railroad that they had the railroad ties laying there, and they had the creosote, and it contaminated all of that area. And so we had to clean it up. We were obligated to clean it up. So as it turned out, we got federal grants, we got state grants. At the end of the day, it's designed so that 70 acres of stormwater to the north,
right,
is cleaned by Connor Park before it goes into Manatee River.
Nice.
So and that's how it turned out. In fact, I brought y'all a postcard so you can see it for yourselves.
See? Thank you.
I recently discovered that park not that long ago.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Also about the River District, the 10th Avenue revitalization program. If you've been down there recently, it's pretty awesome. That's an attraction in itself. What else is coming to the 10th Avenue revitalization? I do this for a living, speaking. Yeah.
Well, we had several years ago. We had applied for and been in the in the pipeline
Uh-huh.
to have 10th Avenue all redesigned and have it be what they used to call it multimodal economic corridor, because it looks at every like the businesses you're looking to put there. Do you want a pedestrian area? The natural things that, because that's an FDOT term, and we had applied for that, and we had been in the pipeline. Somehow we got messed up, so it's going to delay it probably 2 more years at least.
Okay.
But it will be the treatment very similar to what Riverside Drive is, because Riverside Drive is that was the first part of it. That was the anchor part of it. So one of the
Yes.
things that I'm really really proud of is every project that our CRA does, they incorporate an environmental aspect of it. Like we use stormwater pavers that clean it. Um, the lighting we put in with safety grants, we put in lighting. The landscaping has to be a certain way. Sidewalks are wider, and it makes sure that there's accessibility to like transit, whether it's a
Mhm.
bus or whatever, and that it's very clearly pedestrian.
Mhm.
We've also, in that particular area, we've already been working towards making sure that we have adequate parking for the different events that do go on in the park. And I have to tell you, the community has been very, very gracious to us. They've actually donated, the church donated so much of their new parking lot
Right.
on the exterior because nobody could use it like we could use it. So they've donated that to us, and it's currently under construction. That there'll be parking all around the edge of that, which would have been lost space otherwise if they had not partnered with us. So the CRA helped with that, and I could go on. So many people step up. We're working on another project right now. It's an environmental project where they're going to be putting more of the um, reef balls, because the reef balls we put those all along the roadway
Mhm.
to shore up the seawall. So have you seen a
No.
reef ball?
No.
It's another environmental aspect of what we've done along the riverfront, putting it down both sides of the walkway there and the bridge. So interestingly enough, it's when they put them in, and they had cameras that we could see them.
Okay.
They each weigh about 1,000 pounds. But if you pull off and go over in the little parking lot and look, you can see them lining it. But the notion is it helps to bring back the sea life, oysters and you know whatever. And as they say, a full-grown oyster can clean 50 gallons of water a day.
I
So
had never heard that.
See.
so if like looking forward, Palmetto not only wants to have redevelopment and make sure that we can fund our city and grow our city, but also we want to leave a better footprint as far as our environment for years to come.
Thank you.
And hopefully, people will appreciate that at some point.
At the end of the day, Tom and I are realtors, so everything that we look at is real estate related. Tell us about what's coming up with housing programs for like affordable housing, workforce housing, and is that part of CRA? And what's your vision for that?
Our CRA, they have some tools to work with other agencies. One of the things that it's lost on a lot of people, Riverside Drive was assembled over a period of years to put it back out on the market, to reclaim the money that has been invested in it, cleaning up the brownfield. We bought the one property out of foreclosure, and then it's to be assembled, and then as those funds get pulled out of that, and also from that, you won't have a vacant piece of property. You would have tax revenue, CRA revenue, and then that builds the coffers back up to continue perpetuation. And anything that we do in the CRA, it'll be pumped back into incentives for different organizations. So if somebody comes in with an idea, we work with them, and then we try to see how the CRA can help them with with the structure or whatever they want to bring in, that's going to be positive for the city.
Yeah, affordable housing is a huge issue.
It is huge,
Yeah.
and because by the very nature, it's not as profitable, and it's harder and harder to find a developer or someone that's
Absolutely.
going to invest at that level.
I understand.
Yeah, it's challenging.
Challenging. Here's another touchy subject, and again, this is not, but we talk about it. The local boat ramp. Tell us about your opinion and your idea for the boat ramp.
Well, I will tell you something. Our population has grown tremendously. I'm sure it has because every interview I see, there's people that don't live in the city of Palmetto that say they're Palmetto resident,
Right.
and they're not. But anyway, that's a shock, right?
Yeah. Right.
But I understand the dilemma that they have, but that's the reality. Palmetto has not grown to the degree that the rest of the county, as far as the county has.
That's true.
And Palmetto has only 13,800 residents. Meantime, Manatee County has, last check was 421,000 residents.
20 or 30,000 more rooftops going out here to the north of us.
Exactly. But in Palmetto, we haven't experienced that growth. If we take the most valuable piece of property in Palmetto and convert that just to parking spaces for boats, it will negate the ability for the city to redevelop because those funds it'll be stuck there. But the reality too is that people don't realize the boat parking, it was really a temporary until we got everything assembled. We had to do the cleanup on the Shell station property.
Right.
But it's frustrating for me because it's just it's so much logic to it. Why would you take that most valuable piece of property, put boat parking there, and that's not the end. When you do that, you have to say, well, if the powers that be, if they change their mind, or which they're not, but if something happened, you'd wind up with property that couldn't even be parked on because this has just been temporary, unofficial.
Sure.
To make that a parking lot for boaters, you would have to spend probably $3 or $4 million because you'd have to put in stormwater treatment, which would mean the vaults, that sort of thing. You'd have to have the surface covering. You'd have to have the parking blocks. You'd have to have the lights, cameras. We've been trying to replace our restrooms right there and then add something to have maybe a little snack stand or something in conjunction with the restrooms. So it negates all of that. And it doesn't make sense because I've had people say, well, you could make $150,000 a year renting those spaces. Well, that's not true because you're going to have to put out $4 million,
Right.
$3 or $4 million
To maintain.
first.
Yeah.
Yes. And so it really doesn't make sense. I think the people that we've been talking to, I think they're mindful of a certain character that we like for the city. And I don't think it should be lost on anybody. I've probably lived here longer than an awful lot of people. And I want to retain a lot of that history. I want to retain the character, but I don't want to do it at the expense of what's the inflation rate right now?
Yeah, I don't know, 5 or 6.
I think it's upwards of that. But at any rate, how do we keep funding law enforcement? How do we keep funding different things if we can't redevelop?
Right.
And a lot of it won't be coming through the CRA, the redevelopment, the income from the redevelopment. That's going to help us. We've got to retain our employees. We've got to retain our law enforcement officers. There's a lot to be said for that the average citizen is not going to look at. They think, well, if it's dirt parking, no, I can just keep parking on the dirt. You can't.
No.
You can't. It's basically it's a safety thing too.
What excites you? What's coming up? What do you look forward to in the city of Palmetto?
Well, I would tell you, and it's probably, it may be boring for some people, but for me, it's really exciting. I think you've seen about, we've talked about the remodeling at the convention center,
Mm-hmm.
$48 million, and then also the hotel, and then also the high school. That's very exciting to
Oh,
me
yeah, yeah.
because it had really declined. Palmetto needed a lot of attention, and there was a group that I happened to go sit with them at the school board meetings, and they really accomplished a lot. And so in this last 2 years, a lot of the the stormwater issues, teachers were having to sweep the water out of the classrooms. So we took exception to that. That's very exciting to me. It's very exciting to me when we a couple years ago we had a young student from Palmetto High School. She was just getting ready to graduate, and she came up on 23rd Avenue by Blackstone Park, and she tried to turn left, and she was killed just before graduation. And we'd had other people hurt there, but just the the visual of trying to get up and to go to the north. And so this is a really positive step for us. We're going to be finishing, I think, in October. The roundabout that's going to be at the entrance to the city of Palmetto should be completed, and we don't want to have
Right.
unnecessary deaths like that. There was an older person in the area where I live. Same thing.
It's so important.
It is, and
Yeah.
so I got to. I have to say, FDOT has worked very well with us. We're excited about that. So, and of course, there's a new roundabout on Haven Boulevard.
They actually make sense. I think the roundabouts do. I mean, the first one I saw them, like, I was not impressed. I get it now. It
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
Listen, I will admit to you, I was one of those that years ago when they wanted to do the first ones in
Yeah.
Palmetto and stuff, I probably held a sign.
Yeah, yeah.
Not sure,
This
but
will never work. Yeah.
yeah. But
I
I
did.
see, I've been on the MPO for I think 15 years now.
Yeah.
And so I learned very quickly the percentage is very, very high. That it's like 80 or 90% that it reduces the fatalities by just being the way they are. That you don't really T-bone, they would reflect off, and so you save lives. And the big benefit too is we're prone to hurricanes. So what happens? You lose a lot of your traffic signals and stuff, and then law enforcement is tremendously impacted. They have to go and cover those larger. They have to cover those
Sure.
larger
Sure.
intersections.
That's a personnel problem.
But and then
As
you
well
think
as
about
safety.
it,
Yeah.
you don't have to do that with roundabouts.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of safety to that too. I know some
Mhm.
people hate them, but I've grown to really appreciate the benefits.
Miss Mayor, what a pleasure to have you come in this morning. Made my day. And the first time we've met, and I'm a supporter. I'm a fan. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity. I love visiting with y'all.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, everybody, there you have it. This is Jim Hagemeyer with Tom and Jim's Awesome Real Estate Adventure, and my friend over here is
Realtor Tom, and don't forget, we're always here for all your real estate needs.
thanks for watching. Bye bye.